Do you want to talk about the Olympics? Because what's going on with the rink over there? I heard that it's an absolute disaster and that it's like this. It's not even close.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the NHL, the PA, the IOC would have you to believe, no, there's nothing to see here. Everybody move on. It'll be fine. That's because they don't like the idea of fear mongering, because what happens when that narrative gets out there? The reality is the facility is not ready. And I had a conversation with somebody close to the international scene this morning who say it's not even close to being ready. They're hoping that it could be ready as early as December, and they're hoping that they'll be able to have a test event in the facility in January. But let's just play that what if game for a moment. What if it isn't ready? And what if they're not able to test it in January? I mean, we're talking about NHL players here, the best of the best, flooding into Italy to play on the ultimate world stage. So I'm sure that the PA and the NHL will continue to push as hard as they can, push the IOC directly, push the NHL to push the IOC directly. I know that Canada, I think it was Pete DeBoer was part of the entourage. He's got some time on his hands now, but he was part of the entourage that was in Italy a week or two ago. So they would have had a firsthand look at where the facility is, the accommodations and all of that. But it's a growing concern. I mean, it doesn't have to be top notch. I mean, there are some sacrifices that every Olympic athlete has to make, including the mega millionaires of pro sport, National Hockey League. All right. But we're talking about maybe sacrificing some creature comforts. Maybe you don't have the king size bed, that sort of stuff. Obviously, in the Olympic Village, you don't have that. But come on, your arena, your venue to play on and compete on has to be up to snuff. Otherwise, it gets to be potentially dangerous. I don't know. Well, so we'll have to watch it almost week by week.
And that's just not my thoughts. I heard someone else talking about this. You could put up boards and ice, and the guys could go play. But if the infrastructure to produce a show and portray and send that across the country and for people to watch, why the hell is the NHL going over there if they're not going to get anything out of it, right? Like if that's not in place, okay, we got boards and we got ice and they're playing. Yeah, but we can't run a camera and broadcast this event. Like I heard that's part of as big an issue.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And look, again, it was not a shoe-in slam dunk that Gary Bettman and the National Hockey League were going to reach agreement to have the National Hockey League players go back to the Olympics. And a lot of what we've just talked about, I'm sure, was on the high list of concerns that the commissioner's office had. Now, Marty Walsh and the National Hockey League Players Association has felt strongly for a considerable amount of time that NHL players had to go back to the Olympics. Connor McDavid, the faces of the sport internationally, wanted to compete best on best at the Olympics. Okay, well, they got that. There were concessions made by NHL owners to make it happen. So now, I'm thinking that Commissioner Bettman is like, Marty, I told you, man. It's one thing when the Olympics are in North America and we control the environment. And keep in mind, that's an NHL-sized arena. It's supposed to be. So, I'm repeating myself, but I'm sure that both the league and the Players Association are keeping close tabs on this. I expect it'll get done. It'll have to get done. But as we're having this conversation today, there are some concerns.
We won't hear about it for 10 years of how bad it was. They'll present it. It'll be a fire.
30 for 30 doc.
Honestly, fellas, like this is the story of every Olympics. Summer and winter. Venues aren't ready. Like there was not a roof on the swimming thing at Athens. They always find a way. They play the anthems. We start to cry and we fall in love with it all. Like it's it's always late because it's the Olympics and it's always late.
The rooms in Sochi, you had like terrible accommodations. The doors are like falling off and stuff like that. Make out of like it was worse than IKEA quality.
Sure.
Hey, buddies, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.